Hi, I'm Cheryl. Welcome to my home. Tonight I'm going to be sharing with you a recipe that's been handed down from my great-grandmother. One of my favorite things to do with these recipes that I've gotten from my grandparents or a great-grandparent is to revamp them just a little bit to create something new. And so tonight I'm sharing with you our sticky date pudding. That's the family favorite. And then we'll be adding a whiskey caramel sauce. That's the change. To get started, you're going to need a saucepan and add 1 1/3 cups water and turn it on high heat, and 6 ounces of pitted dates. The dates can be chopped or whole, it doesn't matter, just as long as they're pitted. And 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda is key here. The baking soda breaks down the structure of the date, allowing it to gelatinize, which makes cooking time cut in half. So once it's bring it up to a boil, allow it to simmer and become real smushy in texture, and then we're going to put it in an ice bath to have it cool. Our mixture has become smushy, and so now we're just going to take it off the heat and put it in an ice bath. Set the kettle in there, and that'll help cool down the mixture. It's just a beautiful dark purple. Now we're going to go over to our mixer and start making the batter. Well, now we're going to start with our batter. And for our first ingredient, we're going to add 2 ounces or 1/4 cup of Philadelphia cream cheese, 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, and then we're going to mix this until it's creamed well and the cream cheese and the granulated sugar are incorporated together. After this becomes incorporated, we're going to add 2 eggs. Quite up to par. And we're going to give it a good scrape to make sure that the cream cheese and eggs are all incorporated really well together. Once that's done, you're going to get a nice creamy lemon looking color. And now this is when we take it off of our mixer, and we're going to add 3/4 cups of flour and another teaspoon of baking soda. And we're just going to fold this mixture together. And by folding, you just go around and lift the flour over until all the cream cheese mixture and the flour are mixed well. After that's done, we're going to take our cooled date smush and fold that into our batter until it's well blended. And now I'm going to pour my smush date mixture into my batter and stir it until it's well blended. There's a lot you can tell from recipes that you've gotten handed down to you from generation to generation. If you think back, refrigeration wasn't widely available back then, and so mostly everything they used was either locally grown or from their gardens or farms. So a lot of my family recipes call for eggs, butter, milk, cream, peaches, plums, dates, and nuts. Basically anything they could grow themselves. So now you've gotten this beautiful purple mixture, and this is your batter. You can pour it into a 9x9 pan or an 8x8 and bake it at 375 for about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the size of the square of your pan. But what I like to do is use a muffin container. Line my pan with muffin liners and pour my batter in here. This batter makes about 12 muffins, or 12 cake rounds as I like to call them. Our sticky date pudding's in the oven right now. So while that's in the oven, we're going to work on our caramel whiskey sauce. To our saucepan, over about medium heat, we're going to add 1/2 cup of butter and 1 cup of brown sugar. Now we're going to stir this all together until the sugar dissolves into the butter. Our sugar has started to dissolve, so now I'm going to add 8 ounces of Philadelphia cream cheese. A lot of times when you make caramel sauces, they call for half and half or heavy cream. But I don't always have half and half and heavy cream on hand. But I always have Philadelphia cream cheese, and this makes a marvelous substitute. You still get that same richness and flavor that you get with the cream, but you don't have to make a special trip to the store. The cream cheese is usually in your refrigerator. So now we'll just keep stirring this until this becomes well blended. Look how creamy this sauce has become. You could actually use it this way as an ice cream topping or just to lick the spoon. If you have a problem making your sauce smooth, just use a whisk and blend it really quickly to help smooth it out. So now I'm going to add my whiskey. This is really to taste. I always like to start with about 1/4 cup, which is about 4 tablespoons. And then I'm going to cook it a little bit to let the alcohol cook out, and so I can just get that whiskey flavor. And then I'll taste it to see if I want more whiskey in it or if I'm happy the way it is. Now, if you're not a whiskey fan, you could use bourbon or brandy or even rum. After tasting this, I decided we needed a couple more tablespoons of whiskey. So I added a couple more and I cooked it off for just a few seconds and tasted it again, and this is ready to go. Now I'm just going to pull these right out of this muffin pan. I like to serve this dessert warm or to the hot side with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Now comes the moment of truth. It's time to plate up our dessert and to find out if that old recipe from your great-grandmother is really as good as your childhood memories. So what I like to do is I like to take my whiskey sauce and put it on my bottom of my plate. And then I'm going to take one of my cake rounds, peel off the liner. This is more like a cake than a pudding, but they're very, very dense and very moist from the dates and also from the cream cheese. And I'm going to slice this in half, just like you would do a cake if you were going to frost the center. And I'm going to put the top on the bottom, smash dab kind of off to the side, a nice scoop of vanilla ice cream on top. I'll prop the other half of my cake up against it, and then I'm going to take some more of this sauce and just drizzle it over the top. Childhood memories can be deceiving, and so I always wonder if this recipe is as good as I remember. And then I think back, because anytime I make any recipe of my great-grandmother's or my grandmother's, I just brings a smile to my face. Because not only do I remember the food and the taste and the smell, but I remember the time we spent together sharing more than just a dessert or a meal. Oh, this is as good as I remember. And I can tell you that my great-grandmother and my grandmother and my mother are hands down, kick butt, phenomenal cooks. You got to give this one a try. It'll become one of your family's favorites too. Thanks for your time.